Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Untitled Projects. Thanks for clicking. Today I'm going to be reviewing an airliner. Now this is the first time I've reviewed an airliner because I don't normally fly airliners, because I like the small planes, because they're easy, and they're nice to fly, and I don't die as often. But this is a third-party add-on, and that's what I do review, and that's what I do enjoy. I enjoy looking at these add-ons. So, this is the Boeing 737 MAX, as you probably already know, from SimMarket. It's by a little company called Bredoc 3D, sold by Informatica Az, which I think is a bigger company that owns the smaller company, possibly. It's not free. It retails for around €22.80 or $28 or £20. Yeah. And if you're familiar with all these stock aircraft that are in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you'll know that this is the fourth airliner to grace its presence. And we already have some pretty interesting ones. We've got the Dreamliner, which is lovely. That has flexi wings, beautiful. We've got the classic and infamous 747, just a beast. Loads of liveries for that one. And we have the A320 Neo, which incidentally in real life is the 737's biggest competitor. Interesting. So fair to say the Neo and the 737 are pretty similar in terms of what types of aircraft they are. The 737 is a little bit superior, just in a couple of ways, but I'll tell you about that later. Let's talk about the 737 MAX first. And it's not study level, I'm afraid. And I'm pretty sure you can do a cold and dark. And you have an autopilot, although apparently it does kill you sometimes. But fortunately, if you have no idea how to navigate one of these aircraft, there is an absolutely enormous, extremely detailed manual you can go through step by step. You're going to have to lock yourself away for a long time to read through this because it is intense. So this is version 1.0, so it is the very first version, obviously. And what do you get with version 1.0? You get one livery, which, you know, it's kind of measly. I'm quite used to getting 15 liveries or 10 liveries, or at least 5 liveries with each add-on that I do buy. Now I think, I might be wrong, but I think this aircraft has probably borrowed some panels from some other airliners out there, that may be from FSX, that may be from P3D, you know, whatever. But that's probably going to be a little feature that you will see, and I'm sure you'll see it in the comments, as they always do. Someone will say, that's from a 747, and it probably is. So you also get principal system functions. So I'm assuming that that is a cold and dark. That means you can turn on all the lights. You can do navigation. You can do some computer-aided stuff like autopilot. And that's where I think it probably stops. You get the FMC/CDU. Your HUD opens and retracts. I don't know if it actually works, but we will see. You get full lighting in your cockpit and the exterior, which is pretty nice. I've seen it. It's good. Like I said, basic autopilot. Nightlight cockpit and regulators, obviously. You can open all the doors, baggage doors, catering door, ground power connection, and jetway connection. Exciting if you want to really start from zero. But with every add-on, there's things that you don't get. And these will come later on in versions 2.0 and upwards. You get no wing flexibility, which is kind of annoying because that was really, really lush on the Dreamliner. It's not study level, just like they said before. It is compatible with VR, but the mouse can have some issues in virtual reality, so I'm assuming that VR is broken. Anyway, that's enough of that. There is quite an interesting history to this, and I've written a short one for your pleasure. In 2006, Boeing had started considering the replacement of the 737 with a clean sheet design that could follow the Boeing 787 Dreamliner. But it was not until 2011 that Boeing was put under enough pressure by commercial competition to pursue a redesign. Airbus had just launched the concept A320 Neo family, and by June 2011 the new aircraft had achieved order record backlog of 1,029 orders for a new commercial airliner. Boeing had to move promptly, and CFO James A. Bell stated the 737 re-engineering process would start immediately. And on July 20, 2011, American Airlines announced an order for 460 737 narrow-body jets, but controversially, for 260 Airbus aircraft. They also intended to order 100 re-engineered 737s. Boeing had had the monopoly with American Airlines up to that point and was forced to accelerate the design process of the 737. And in August 30th, 2011, the redesign commenced, with the team focusing on exceeding what they already knew about the Airbus A320 Neo. The 737 would have a lower fuel burn, improved aerodynamics and a longer range, This made the 737 MAX competitive, and by December 2011, the 737 had 948 commitments and firm orders from 13 customers. Almost exactly 4 years later, on December 8, 2015, the first 737 MAX, a MAX 8 named Spirit of Renton, was rolled out at the Boeing factory. A long ground test program ensued, and finally, on January 29, 2016, the Spirit of Renton took to the skies for its maiden flight, 5 years after its initial conception, and 2 years since the NEO's first flight. Flutter testing, stability and control, and takeoff performance amongst other tests took over a year and 2,000 flight hours to complete. And finally, after over 6 years in development, the MAX was certified on March 8, 2017. The first delivery was a MAX 8, handed over to Malindo Air, a subsidiary of Lion Air, on May 16, 2017. After 1 year of service, 130 MAXes had been delivered to 28 customers. The 737 MAX program, although difficult at times, had been a success. But in March 2019, all 737 MAXes were grounded worldwide following 2 fatal accidents. These occurred in Indonesia and Ethiopia within 6 months of each other and had subsequently killed all on board both flights, totaling 346 fatalities. A malfunctioning flight control system was found to be at fault. Both aircraft had become uncontrollable and had been forced into an unrecoverable dive. The following investigations found that Boeing had covered up a known defect. Boeing suspended production in January 2020, and approximately 400 MAX airplanes were awaiting delivery. On November 18, 2020, the FFA cleared the MAX to return to service once necessary design modifications had been made. And Boeing, after being charged with fraud, settled to pay over $2.5 billion. Currently, there are 450 plus Boeing 737 MAXes in existence, and as of today, the 737 production is still on hold, with over 3,290 unfulfilled orders in its backlog. Back on the ground, and it's a cold day in Renton, Washington, and we're at Renton Municipal Airport, which at Untitled Projects, we always go back to the birthplace of these aircraft, the ones that we review. And this is where this was built. It was built in this factory just over here, and that is the Renton plant for Boeing. Obviously, they have several plants across the US and the world. But this one has a particularly interesting story because it also built another really famous aircraft, which was the B-29 from World War II. And it built 1,119 of them. So, historical, to say the least. It's also built a load of other aircraft, as you would suspect. It's built the C-97, which was the Strato Freighter. Really weird looking plane if you look that up. The 727, obviously the 737, the 747, and the 757. So they've got a pretty solid naming convention. So we're going to do what we always do. We're going to have a little walk around, look at the graphics of this aircraft, see how it stands up to the FPS gods. And we can't really do a cold and dark, unfortunately. I'm not an airline pilot, I'm so sorry. But I can take you through some of the panels, what it looks like inside, what turns on, what doesn't. So graphically, what does it look like? It looks alright from a distance. It's kind of stacks up against the rest. It's not too bad. Maybe a little shiny. I don't know if it's shiny in real life, but yeah, looks okay. I don't think it's as nice as the other airliners, and just having one livery as well. I mean, that's not really meeting expectations, I don't think. And there are a couple of little things. If you really zoom in, you can tell there's some wrapping issues. There's a couple of polygon bits and bobs going on. Some of these words don't seem to be actually on the plane. So that seems to be floating above the aircraft, which is, I mean, you can just about see it there. It's really, really strange. So it's not quite as detailed as it should be, especially for something that you pay for. So a bit disappointing, but hopefully it will improve in time. But the real disappointment for all of you study level people is the cockpit sucks. Let's have a look. Yeah, crazy. Okay, so this is very similar to the Typhoon that came out last year. That was just an amalgamation of loads of other bits from all sorts of different planes. I think there was even a bit of an Airbus in there, which is totally weird. But yeah, very, very strange. Let's see if we can turn on the external. Just check out some of these visuals. By the way, I think the sounds are from stock 747 as well, so another little part of the puzzle that's missing. And what is that? Why is your rudder trim there? This is so weird. Alright, well, I'm going to shut it off and then we'll maybe try cold and dark. See where we go. Alright. All I know is let's get that external power on, and I'm obviously going to do all of this wrong because I'm not an airline pilot and I don't fly airliners. But it's kind of fun. I'm just going to turn on all the lights just for... Let's get those taxi lights on as well, which is nice. We've got the APU on and the GPU, and now let's get those pumps on, which are just here. They are all on. I'm going to check if I've got 3 greens for the gear. 3 greens and 3 greens. Alright. I'm going to turn on all my generators. There we go. Very nice. Fuel pumps on. Pressure looks pretty sweet. And that's kind of all I know. I'm going to turn on no smoking and fasten your seatbelts, just so everyone knows that we're going to take off. And basically, then, got to turn these onto ground, and that should allow you to start your engines. But I haven't been able to start my engines, so I seem to not be able to click that that switch. So I've got to use my key command. And you can see, first engine is starting up, and do it again. And there we go, there's the second one starting up now. Now I've just got to wait for them to spool up all the way, and then I'm ready to go. I'm sure I got a lot wrong then, but that's all I know so far. I'm going to put a link to a tutorial that actually takes you through a proper cold and dark in X-plane, which on the 737 MAX is pretty good by a real pilot, so check it out. So also, I don't use any of the nav equipment, but a lot of these things do work. Like I was saying, we can bring this down. That's all initiated nicely, which is very useful. And you can also set your auto throttle and your flight director on. So this is quite useful stuff. And apart from that, that's as far as I've got. So, apart from it being a really laggy aircraft and quite difficult to fly at times, I guess it's almost there. I suppose it's going to be updated over time. This is version 1.0, so right at the beginning. It's also the same people that did the Eurofighter Typhoon, which was controversial when it came out, to say the least. So bear in mind that these things will be updated. If you want to buy it, it's up to you. So all good, but let's get to the end of the runway. I'm going to request a pushback, and let's just take her into the air. And that's probably going to be the end of it. All right, pushback time. Nice heat blur, has to be said. Right, I'll get to the end of the runway and we'll take off and go from there. Right, just coming to the end of the runway now, you can see that it is quite laggy. And that is definitely down to the detail that isn't quite being very FPS friendly at the moment. So, yeah, kind of annoying, but it's one of those things. Hopefully that will be updated. So yeah, that frame rate just has really dropped down to 12 now. So, yeah, pretty frustrating. Also, this runway is only just long enough for this aircraft. We're going to hit V1 shortly. There we go.
Boeing 737, you were not cleared to take off.
But I wasn't cleared to take off, but obviously I don't care. So, whatever, Renton. There we go, not a bad plane to fly, pretty powerful. Nice little airport. There's the factory on the left. It's really gone all polygon on us. But, yeah. Anyway, because I won't be able to land this aircraft because it's far too big and far too complicated for me, that's going to be the end of the video. But if you do like it, pop in a like, or if you don't like it, don't like it. It's up to you. That is democracy, as we say. And make sure you pop back for more reviews. There's loads more aircraft coming out that I'm going to check out. There's a Spitfire in a couple of weeks. There's probably going to be a load more jets on the way. I think there's an Argentinian turboprop aircraft, military style, that might grace us shortly. And apart from that, have a great day. Bye.